From ah, now she's here.
No,
Okay,
she, that was flamboyant. Flam, thank you very much.
yeah, Stevie Ricks.
She's good and she's buoyant.
Yeah, she's flammy.
Happy freaky
Flammy, not
fractious.
flammy. Go
Happy
on, Michael.
morning, Vin. How's your Friday going so far?
Oh,
Quiet,
it's
I hope.
just going duckily.
Like a duck would go.
It's just going duckily, baby.
Well, mine is going mostly like a moose would go, or perhaps an elk.
Slow and lumbering.
Noticeable. Just say that if. Oh,
Well,
I
you
see.
know those elks get going. I mean, believe it or not, there's a population of elks up here in between Concrete and why they don't name the next town Clay, I'll never know. But between Concrete and the next town, whatever it is up there on Route
It's
20,
called Unit 7. That's the next
yeah,
town.
exactly. And there's a huge uh, contingent of elks that hang out up there. And while they look slow and meandering, if you rub them the wrong way, they suddenly become quick and agile.
And wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you leave it to just someone somewhere in America able to rub an elk the wrong way?
Usually they figure that three, four, 5 times a year, people do the stupid thing and get out of the car and try to pet them
You know, try to pet them like they needed a pet.
or
Those
try
big,
to
huge
get their
animals.
picture taken with them.
Yeah.
This is the elk. This is me. To which the elks invariably get upset.
They get upset. They lose their composure.
And you haven't seen anything in life until you've seen an elk decide to become a light
Aggressive.
heavyweight,
Yeah.
a contender.
If you have never been kicked by a mule, my advice is do not start with an elk. That would be the wrong animal to start with if you're willing to be kicked by one of these animals, standing behind them and petting them on the fetlock. Goodbye.
Well, a mule will do you, the elk will destroy you.
The elk will take pieces home with him in his hooves. Yeah, it's going to be a mess.
It always reminds me of, one time I was driving down a Blue Ridge Parkway and there are bears,
There
many
are bears.
bears, lots of bears along the Blue Ridge Parkway. And so this mama bear and her cubs come out of the woods and they're right next to the parkway. Probably 100 feet off of the parkway, but they're out of the vegetation and onto the grassy part that's next to the parkway. And so, of course, this gets many tourists to stop
What a great idea.
and observe what the bears are doing. Meanwhile, the bears are observing what the people are doing as well.
Sure.
And if you've ever tried to go up near a mama bear when the little baby bears are around, it's not a smart thing to do. But
Never.
here comes this idiot woman who's pulled her car over, and I'm like across the highway, which is just a small highway. It's the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's just 2 lanes, and she's got the phone, and she's got the kids,
Oh
and
boy.
their little kids, and she's going up to the bear
To introduce everyone.
to get her picture taken with the bear, and and people are now screaming at her, "Do not take those kids
Good God.
near the bear." And she's like, not even listening.
I believe that. I believe there might be some other conclusions we can draw about her just level of intelligence and involvement.
She finally, eventually, somebody screamed at her enough that she pulled the kids and went back. It was probably right at the right time because the bear was starting to get excited because all the people were yelling.
Right. Oh yeah.
And once they hear the yelling, their natural instinct is to go after anything that they can see because their only focus at that point is to protect the bear and rip the head off of anything that they perceive is going to be dangerous. So this woman got made it back to her car. The bear never charged, much to the bear's credit. And all of a sudden, the bear picked her cubs up and went back into the woods. He said, "Screw this noise. I'm not going to jail for killing somebody."
There's no food here, so let's go.
Yeah, the berries are gone. But it was one of the scariest things because you knew that the bear eventually was going to go after this woman, probably the kids.
All of them. One big swipe.
You know, these people think it's like Disneyland. You know, the bear.
What they do in grizzly country, because people are so stupid, they close entire valleys because of the huckleberry season in Montana, especially. We buy hucks. All the stores say we buy hucks. If you're picking huckleberries, bring them on in. We'll sell them by the flat.
Yeah.
But do not go into these valleys. The following valleys are currently owned by the bears who own the huckleberries. And if they find you in the valley, it's two offenses. One, I don't like you in my valley because you're a human. So I'm as a upstanding bear, I will kill you. But also, it looks to me like you came to get the huckleberries, and I can't abide by that. So I must kill you. And also, you're running away, so I'm going to catch you. And when I do catch you, fill in the blank. And those are your three choices: to be killed standing where you are, turning and running, or 50 feet down the trail when the bear catches you. And they mean business. This valley is closed.
Yeah. Have you ever had a huckleberry shake?
No,
It's almost worth the dodging the bear for.
I would let somebody else come up with the huckleberries, but I will consume the shake.
They're very popular, especially this time of year in Idaho and Montana. I don't know who goes out and gets the huckleberries. Probably, maybe they buy them right off the bears. I don't know.
The bears are willing to do a transaction as long as they've had their huckleberries first.
Yeah, I mean, the bears say, "Okay, here's my huckleberries, and I'm going to take these huckleberries down to the restaurant and give them
Yeah.
to the owner, and he'll give me some cash, and I'll go back up into the valley."
There was a book about called The Bear Came Over the Mountain, and the bear could speak and he could write, and he wrote a book, and he knew that no one was going to pay attention because they say a bear can't write a book. And he comes over the mountain, he discusses his problem, and he has somebody front for him, and then he gets cheated and he wants his money. And so he has to come out and say, "I'm the bear that wrote the book." They say, "But you're a bear." I said, "Yeah, it's true. But I'm being cheated out of my royalties on this thing because I wrote that book."
Yeah, and the
Pretty
fact that I'm talking to you should
should
have
give you a
some
hint.
sway in.
Yeah. And by the way, in lieu of my royalties, anybody got any huckleberries?
Right, and when I hack you to death, face it, nobody's going to believe that the bear did it. Because I'm just going to keep my mouth shut at that point.
Yeah, who's going
They
to
can
believe that?
question me all they want. No, I don't have to say anything, and they're going to go eventually after a few minutes. Wait a minute, bears don't speak,
This bear's not going to tell us much.
so they're going to put me in the
Writing a
back of
book.
a paddy wagon, drive me out to the woods somewhere where there are plenty of huckleberries, which I happen to enjoy.
I do enjoy a huckleberry now and then.
And I'm going to be eating huckleberry pie while they're still trying to piece you back together for the open casket.
And I don't give them much luck. Well, maybe
Well, I take a few pieces with me.
souvenirs. Who wouldn't go for a souvenir on a nice day?
Yeah, that's what we do. That's how we make more of our money here. We sell, body parts of people who were stupid enough to cheat a bear.
And if they start to go, we use them to fertilize the huckleberries.
One way or the other, we get maximum value out of minimum parts.
See, that's what they're trying to do in Slovakia. They're not getting maximum value. The market adjustment's been too crude. Market adjustment's been very harsh on some places right now. But if you're in bear territory, huckleberry season is heaven.
Do they have bears in Slovakia?
Used to. Used to have Russian bears. They had the old brown Russian bear, and there was no work. The bear could no huckleberries, no work, no valleys to close, no tourists to eat, no parkway to run by.
Gets lonely.
Where would you go if you were a bear? You'd get out of Slovakia.
Yeah, I go somewhere. I mean, I don't know where, but I go somewhere. I,
You
I, I
used to have lions, used to have camels. None of that anymore.
boy, they sure screwed Spolpakia up. Used to be a great place.
It was a wonderful place to go.
Water
Summertime.
buffaloes, maybe? No water buffaloes?
No, no, they never
I
had they never had the wetlands.
You gotta have bison at least.
Bison would be good, or some form of, well, they had the camel. That's sort of the
I mean, they
grazing
got
animal.
bison in San Francisco. If you got bison in San Francisco, you have to have bison, I would think, in Slovakia.
Those bison are not totally local. I think they're from Hayward.
Yeah, that would explain a lot.
Or as we used to say on the rocker, San Blow Andro. What you mean, San Leandro? No, San Blow Andro. That's what we
Yeah,
mean.
boy, Andrew. Sometimes some of them venture up to Berkeley or even Kensington, but very rarely to north of north of
Stan,
north
Stan,
of Berkeley.
there's no huckleberries in Berkeley. It's just not good for it. There's
Oh,
something
there's
we
some
call.
huckleberries in Berkeley, just not the kind we're talking about.
Okay. I'll be your huckleberry. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some huckleberries. Oh man, so it's a Freaky Fractious Friday. We have the it's a Blue Friday up here.
What's blue about it? Oh, the game.
Seahawks, yeah, and of course now everybody is high because they figure that that Geno Smith can do no wrong,
He looked okay.
and that that they're going to go down there and beat the 49ers, which I don't know. You're following the 49ers more than I'm following them these days.
I say it's a toss-up.
Yeah, it seems to be. I don't see any clear favorite in this thing, except the 49ers seem to have a bit more experience.
The only thing that can make a difference right now, I think, is possibly the defense. If the 49er defense is playing well, then Geno's going to have a long day. They may not turn it over, but they're going to have a hard time gaining yards if the 49ers defense comes to play. I think that can be a factor. And if they come to play, look out for turnovers, which means the defense scores a touchdown, and now you got a problem.
Yeah, and again, we saw, the one of the big reasons that I thought that the Seahawks won, especially with Geno, is that he didn't make any mistakes. And a good defense is going to force mistakes on the quarterback. You're going to force
Just takes
mistakes on a guy
takes
like.
away takes away your time. Geno still doesn't has got to getting the clock right, and a good defense takes away that time that you thought you had when suddenly beep beep
Right.
you don't have any time.
And I thought that Gino was good at taking advantage of the time. He seemed to have a lot of time. I don't want to credit the offensive line with all of that, although I did think they played well, but and gave Gino enough time to operate. I just suspect that you're going to see something a little different with the 49ers.
Well, I think the 49ers are ready. They seem to be more ready than Denver was. Denver looked terribly unprepared and under rehearsed, and I was surprised by that because that's not their MO. That's not the way they do things.
Well,
And
new
it's not the
head
way
coach,
Russell's.
he doesn't think you need to play in the preseason.
Well, maybe he can have a talk with John Elway in his off hour.
I
They,
suspect he has already.
perhaps they can sit down and think a little bit about theory.
I suspect that John and probably Paul Hackett has called his son. He said, "Son,
What the hell was that?
we have a difference of opinion here about how you should do things.
Yeah.
If I knew you were going to do things like that, I never would have written you that letter of recommendation for the job."
I'm going to send you 5 solutions to clock maintenance, and it does not include any of the plays that you called or tried to call.
Nothing even close. So, but I mean, even the great, and this is something I've always wondered about. Even the great coaches have trouble with the clock. I mean, I've seen time and time again where Mike Tomlin, who I think is a great coach, has had trouble managing the clock, especially in the closing minutes of a game.
Got too much in his head.
Um, I kind of remember, and you'd have to correct me on this if I was wrong, but I remember Bill Walsh probably having a few issues with the clock at times.
Possibly.
Um, some other coaches that I always thought were pretty good coaches for whatever reason. I mean, shouldn't there be a clock coach? That same guy who you trust to tell you what you should be doing if you're doing it wrong. Shouldn't he be also like, or she or whatever, be looking at the clock and saying, you got to call a timeout here, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got 5 seconds, you can't do this, or is that too much in a coach's ear?
I don't think so. I saw the end of a college game this week. I think it was USC, and they had just under 2 minutes left in the clock, and they didn't want to give the ball back, but it looked like they were going to have to give the ball back. It was fourth down. So they held the ball and didn't run a play on fourth down and took the penalty and burned the clock twice. Then now they have another play because they have to run the 5-yard penalty, and the ball doesn't get turned over, and they burn that all the way down. And when they gave the ball back, there was 6 seconds left in the game. And it was beautiful clock maintenance, and it was well done. And he had it completely, and he had a guy by his side saying, do it like this, do it like this. And he says, I got it. And quietly burned that clock to bits right in front of the other coach who never got the ball back. And it was the best clock maintenance and use of clock that I had ever seen. And you know what he did? Nothing. He let the clock work, and it worked and burned and burned. 5-yard penalty. What are you going to do now? I'm not going to do anything. What are you going to do? Clock starts. That's it. Game's over.
Yeah. I mean, it's some. I guess if you're somebody like me who tends to be late wherever they go, that would be bad clock maintenance, and you wouldn't want me as a management, I should say, and you wouldn't want me as a head coach.
Being late is not good.
If you had
Coach
somebody
gets it
who
first.
is on time all the time, I guess they know how to manage a clock, right?
It's from experience. Now, I bet 10 million coaches just saw that playback, just saw it actually happen in real time. Look what these guys did to eat the clock. And what it boils down to is knowing how to do it and doing that instead of running a play. The idea of get a play in there, move the ball. No, wait a minute. We don't have to do that. It's fourth down. We can't, if we don't get 5 yards, we lose the play, and we've only spent 5 seconds. Let's let the whole clock burn down, take the penalty, let the whole clock burn down, and then get rid of the ball.
Well, isn't it the natural inclination of a coach to want to run a play?
Often, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
got
it
a
almost
solution.
feels like I should be doing something here.
That
Uh,
thing in front of him, there's a solution for everything on his board, right?
Supposed to be. That's what all those little
Third,
colored lines are.
third and 25. I got 6 plays I can run on that thing. Well, what do you got for don't do anything and eat the clock? Now he's got at least some idea in his mind of what one option that he could use, and experience will teach them other ways to burn that clock. It's not like you're managing the clock. You're taking time away from them. You
Right.
just never want to give them opportunity and time together. It's a bad combination.
Right, because in the game of football, time is
Time is power.
an element, of defense, offense. Maybe it's not an element of special teams as much, but because the clock kind of stops for the special teams. But certainly, if you're a coach that's not good on clock management, you cost your team opportunities time and time again.
I think it would be worth maybe as many as 2 games a season to have like 15 choices for burning the clock. Have them written right down there on their play sheet on the emergency room. What do you do give me something from the emergency room? I got to burn the clock. And there are ways to do it. And some of them involve timeout. Some of them involve injured players. Guys get hurt. You never know. A guy could get hurt. And I think mostly, Vinny, it comes to experience. Do they know how to burn the clock, either from personal use or from watching video on other guys doing it?
Right. I think that's probably what came into play on Monday night for Nathaniel Hackett is that this is, although he comes from, great stock and everything like that, you still have to have the experience. You still have to be in that game situation, don't you?
And I think the two plays that he botched before that burned the clock and took away their downs, made him panic and say, "All right, 53 yards, we got it, kick it."
Yeah, he was crapping the bed before that particular play. I mean,
Yeah.
you could see that there were certain points in the game where he made decisions that I'm sure had people in the stadium looking at themselves going, huh?
What is he doing?
Okay by us. We're the home team. And, you couple that with the unique ability of the Seattle crowd to throw somebody off of their game just by yelling.
Just makes it hard to communicate.
It's hard to communicate in there to begin with, but when the crowd senses that they've got you with the noise and the disruption and the delay of game and so on and so forth, it gets worse. When you can't hear somebody when you can't hear the booth upstairs in your headphones, you're in trouble.
It'd be a nice contest for Cairo to send like a busload of the loudest Seahawks fans to, for instance, Rhode Island somewhere, Cape Cod, for the weekends. It's just be loud wherever they are. Be loud on the bus, be loud in the hotel, wherever they loud in the restaurant. They all go to Stuckey's.
I think that contest has been sold to a governor in Florida.
Did he buy it? Good move. Good move. It's a great contest. Everybody should get in on that. Every radio station in America should be sending busloads to Cape
Well,
Cod.
everyone that has it on it or something like that.
You know who you are, radio. You know who you are.
I'm just Mikey. I'm so disgusted and angered at the whole situation, the whole thing. But what I'm angered that this country can't seem to come up with a comprehensive immigration policy. It's been like that for years. This
It's
is
interesting what happened.
started today.
It's interesting what happens, though, Vinny, when everybody on the other side votes no. You'd be surprised how little you get done.
Well, yeah, but they also had chances to do this when they had the yes votes, and they still couldn't get it done.
Well, what about Bill Clinton? I mean, well, that's what you're supposed to say now. What about Joe Biden? What about
Right.
Biff Jiggerman? If you don't have an argument, just say, how come somebody else didn't do it?
First of all, this shouldn't be an issue for it should be a bipartisan issue. This isn't something that should be done along party lines. This is something that should be done so that people have a clear idea of what they are doing.
But
Now,
this is the most political thing. Most political.
be that as it may, when you have scumbags like the governor of Texas, scumbags like the governor of Florida who have decided,
That's Abbott and DeSantis for your
yeah,
story
that
alone.
they are going to use these people, in essence, as showpieces.
Human pawns.
Just something to further their own agenda, to make them appeal to a lowest common denominator voter.
Hey, look, bus people, we have peanut butter sandwiches. Peanut butter sandwiches? Yeah, you happy?
And it's just it's the worst of the United States. And then at the same token, you see the best of the United States. You see the people respond in Martha's Vineyard. You want us to drop these people off with us? Okay, we'll show you what compassion is. We'll show you what mobility is. We'll show you how we're not going to sit here and say, oh my God, look at what you've done to us. You've dropped these horrible people off. We're going to go. We're going to get blankets. even if we got to take them out of our closets. And we're going to get clothes, even if we got to take them out of our kids' closets. And we're going to get food. We're going to make up some plates of lasagna and baked ziti and whatever else and Boston baked beans. And we're going to take them down to the church house. And we're going to feed these people. And we're going to
and
open up the high school. And we're
shame
going
you.
to give these people a place to sleep. We're going to give their kids a place to play. While some authorities, whoever it is that figures these things out, tries to get them figured out.
It's a shameful thing to have to witness. It's a shameful thing to do. It's a weak and terrible crime committed on these people by those in authority, by the most powerful people in the state, by the governors of Texas and the governors of Florida, DeSantis and Abbott. Shameful. And it's like a terrible apparition. These guys come out of the fog, and every time they've surfaced to take a breath of fresh air, they belch out some other terrible, awful plan, some other terrible, disgusting comment, some other idea about radical race history. These are dark, odious people who are playing on the darkest, most odious margins of society, and finding an audience for it. I can't believe Florida would fall for this.
Well, I mean, it is people who they play to the person that I grew up with that says, "Oh my God, this was a great neighborhood until insert ethnic group here moved in.
And
This
then
was a great place until insert ethnic group here moved in. Oh, this was a better country before the insert ethnic group here
before they
moved
got
in."
they always get here, don't they? They got here, and when they moved in, they took the neighborhood, and they've been like that ever since.
Right, right. The neighborhood's gone to hell. There's been more crime. There's been more this. Look at the way they have these markets that put the fruit out on the street. Well, you know what? It's the same stuff they said about the Italians. The same stuff they said about the Irish.
Well, they were right about the Irish, I'm afraid.
Yeah, same stuff they said about the Polish and the Chinese who put the dead chickens in the window.
How are you going to sell them if you don't put them in the window?
It's it gets to a point where if you are if you're not a daughter of the revolution,
Here we go.
it's offensive. It's offensive to me that Ron DeSantis somehow would not face any kind of retribution for doing something like that, and that he has people standing behind him on the stage who are
Laughing,
applauding him for doing it.
laughing, smiling, scratching, happy to be there.
What kind of people are we? What kind of country are we living in?
That would be Ron DeSantis playing his white card. Let's do this for the white people. White people are going to love this. White people are going to react to it. They're going to understand it. They're going to vote behind it. They're going to stay with us. They're part of the base. Who can you count on at a time like this with a message like this? You can count on white people.
It's so disgusting. I mean, I wish I had the ability to go there and just punch this guy in the face, man. Just
That would be
knock a
good.
few of his teeth out.
I have to tell you, that would be good. Bring an elk with you though for backup, okay?
I just think this is, I mean, and in a state like Florida, where there are so many immigrants,
From
so
everywhere.
many first generation Americans, so many people who, their parents were refugees from somewhere, many from Cuba.
True.
The Cubans forget sometimes how this country opened their arms when they were floating in boats out in the bay there. How
Yeah,
the Americans opened up their arms to these people.
there's two sides to that story though, because the Cuban immigrant, as you know, Vinnie, came in with a very anti-communist view, not surprising after the life they've lived. But that played them right into the GOP, the darkest edges of the GOP, and they've been a super conservative, active, and um, outgoing part of the Republican Party in Florida.
Yeah, yeah, and it's disgusting to me that these people would think like that. But listen, I happen to know a little about the Cubans, and they are very elitist. The Cubans that come over here tend to be very elitist. They wash their hands of a lot of the other South American and Central American, and probably in part because they were taken over by so many different countries.
And they like to say that their roots are Spanish, not necessarily African, and
Right,
they make a
right.
big deal
But
about
yet,
that.
when you go back and you look and you trace it, it was a spot for slaves to be dropped off.
Well, if you go back far enough, your relatives and mine were all walking around in Africa
Yeah,
trying to get to Europe for the weekend, you know.
yeah. I mean, that's what always amazed me about, how the older Italians used to not like black people. And I was, well, wait a second. I mean, we're about as close to black people as you can get without and still be white. We even get a disease that's similar to sickle cell anemia
I didn't know
because
that.
so many black people and Italians mix together
Back in
because
the
of Ethiopia and those countries being Italian territories.
the empire.
I just never understood. The only ones, it was always funny to me. I read about this many years ago. What was always funny to me was that the um, the mafia guys would make friends with the black people in prison by telling them, by saying, "Hey, listen, we're brothers." In prison it was all right. Um, Joey Gallo, Crazy Joey, made friends when he was in prison. Made friends with the African American population. Uh, it's just, we're all from somewhere else.
Boy, that's for sure. Now that's the name of the show. That's the name of the show right there.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a Native American, unless you're Sonny Six Killer, your roots are
And
from
here.
somewhere else.
And saying that you're from Illinois is not that just shows you don't know where you're from.
Right. So for Ron DeSantis, who I'm sure if you go back 2 or 3 generations, his family is from
Not speaking English.
somewhere. For him, for that guy to exploit these people like they have over the last few days, over the last few weeks.
As if they were lab rats.
Yeah, if they were just pieces of crap that they were throwing out. And yeah, they give them a bus ticket or a plane ticket to somewhere that's not there. They get rid of them. But now it's coming out that they were lied to, that they
Oh
were
yeah.
told one thing and it wound up being another.
And that was so unnecessary. The
And the
lying
fact that
part,
you
the
said,
subterfuge.
yeah, and the fact that you send them to, at least if you're sending them to New York, if you're sending them to Boston, if you're sending them to Chicago, you're sending them to places where they can get services. What's the idea of sending them to Martha's Vineyard except just to
Chaos.
be a mean spirited piece of crap?
That create chaos, create confusion, create wonder about what's going to be next, create a place where there's no built-in solution, create a problem, create chaos, and then laugh about it and go on television about it and tell everyone I did it. I'm the asshole who did this, and I'll do it when I get that bus back. I'm going to fill it with a bunch of other people, and I won't even tell you where we're sending it. We'll send it someplace. It won't be Florida, I'll tell you that. It won't be Jacksonville.
Yeah, I just, I never hope harm for people, Michael. Really, I mean, I hope that what goes around comes around. But for this guy DeSantis, I hope something terrible befalls him, and I hope the people that think that what he's doing is good,
Oh,
that,
something's
that,
coming.
that it befalls them too. And you know that there's people out there, like I said, I know people that think that oh, it's about time we did something like that
These
because these
people
people come and they take our jobs and
and
they
our
dirty
children.
up the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take your jobs. They take your jobs that you don't want to do.
That no one is doing.
They take your jobs. They take the jobs that people advertise for how long, and they can't get somebody because it's a dishwasher or a fast food job or something like that. Uh, it's just
It's
such a
willing
level of meanness.
he willingly commits a crime against humanity, against the books, against all that's right. I would have to go back and take a listen to his oath. Ron DeSantis swore an oath to the people of Florida. Was this in it? Is this what the state of Florida wanted when they brought DeSantis in to wear his boxy little ill-fitting suit? I don't know if it is, but let's take a along the wording of his oath. Anything in there about lying to people to get them to go to another state illegally? I just wonder if that's in there.
Oaths don't mean anything to these people. Oath doesn't mean any. An oath of office doesn't mean anything to Donald Trump. An
No,
oath
they
of
don't.
office doesn't mean anything to Ron DeSantis. An oath of office doesn't mean anything to Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert.
I said what they made me say. They made me say that. It's not an oath if I don't take it seriously. I didn't. I don't believe it. I just don't believe that.
Man, I had my toes crossed when I was taking it. When I held my hand up and said I would defend the Constitution, I only meant the Second Amendment.
Well, if our judge in the news, Judge Aileen Cannon, is correct with her rulings, you can just doubt that. You can doubt that there's any validity to the oath. Who's to say if it's a real oath or that the oath that you're taking is to the state is real, that Florida is real? There's no proof that there is a Florida. So you're taking an oath to something that may or may not exist. So the oath itself is worthless because who's to say that there really is an oath that is worthy of your to plead your loyalty? Did you swear that oath? I did, but all the time I was thinking this oath can't be real. This oath can't, because there's no way to know. There's no way to
Right.
know.
Who wrote the oath? Are they still alive? Can they testify in court? Well,
And
no.
why
The
did they
oath was
write it?
written by George Washington.
And how long's he been dead? I mean, there's no way to know
And,
what
well, he's irrelevant.
he can't talk. He can't defend himself. So there's no way to defend that oath. That oath is
Right. So we got
worthless.
to get rid of him. We got to get rid of the oath. We got to get rid of history, except the Second Amendment.
We got to keep that.
We got to keep that.
In fact, we can start calling it the First Amendment because we won't need the other amendments. It'll just
Right.
be
We
one
don't need the other
amendment.
amendments because if you talk wrong, we're going to ship you to Martha's Vineyard. Which personally, for me, if you want to pay for my plane ticket to Martha's Vineyard, and I can stay there a few days, I'm okay with that.
DeSantis will start calling these concentration camps. He's going to send another busload to the concentration camp at Martha's Vineyard because they like to take good care of their prisoners.
You know, what irks me is all of the federal funding that we have sent to Florida for earthquakes, not earthquakes, hurricanes, and different natural disasters that have gone on down there, all of the federal funding that was sent to Miami when that building collapsed, all of the um, different monies, our tax monies, that have been sent to Florida for different reasons.
And this is the way they give their thanks back to the mother nation.
And this is what they do. Same thing with Texas. You know what? If you want to send people to you know, to Martha's Vineyard, then you know what? Don't take any money from the federal government. You don't want to be a state? Don't take any money from the federal government.
Or we'll just stop sending it to you. We have 49. We don't really need Florida, do we?
Yeah, although listen, I've been an advocate for a long time of give Florida to somebody and make Puerto Rico the 50th state. Make Havana, Cuba, the 50th state if they want to do it.
I don't think that's going to work. They have a government.
Well,
They might be slightly surprised.
I just, it's, you know, I mean, I think we get to the point sometimes where some of these states, some of these people, especially down, it always seems to be south. It always seems to be below the Mason-Dixon line or Texas or Arizona.
Texas, Florida, Mars. Those three give us a lot of problems.
I don't, I just, why do we need them? What value does Texas and Mississippi and Alabama, what value do they bring to this country?
They don't have a high resale value. It's true. There are amenities and special features on the dashboard and fit and finish. Nothing to speak of. Their history is interesting, but nothing new to talk about really. They got the flag that doesn't belong to them. They got a state flag, and then they got the American flag, which they only fly reluctantly.
Right. I mean, if they had their choice, they'd fly the stars and bars.
They
They're
got
pissed off
they,
because
they have learning institutions, both state and private, but they're mostly into football. We know that more than
right,
anything.
it's they could give a if they took the medical institutions out of the colleges altogether and just put a stadium up, they'd be happier than hell.
That'd be good. Let's do that. They can be
They
in the
probably
SEC.
pollute the country more than anybody else because they have so many damn pickup trucks down there.
Not as many as Washington State, I think.
Oh, I bet you they have more pickup trucks. I'd have to look, but per capita, it'd be interesting to see who had more pickup trucks. I mean, there's a lot of pickup trucks in Washington State, but I will bet you that there's more in
Alabama.
in Alabama. I mean, it just doesn't, you know. And when they get the money,
They give it to Brett Favre.
they give it to Brett. I was just going to say they give it to Brett Favre. They give it to the corrupt governors. I mean, name me a state below the Mason-Dixon line that hasn't had a governor that's been either indicted or suspected of misusing federal funds.
And obstructing justice.
Yeah. I mean, you go just all straight across the board. There's no state down there where the governor has not been accused of misappropriating funds or somehow, in the 50s with integration, in the 60s with the civil rights movement. It's a joke.
One of the aspects of not learning the lesson is that you have to learn the lesson over and over again. I was that way with math. I never got it right.
Yeah.
The problem didn't change. You begin the same way. Somehow I would get derailed in the middle, but the problem never got solved because the problem never changed. And that's the same problem that we have now in the South. They don't want to admit to it. It goes right back to the Civil War. But the attitude that you're dealing with is someone who will not play ball with the North. That's all there is to it. You sons of bitches beat us, and we should have won that war. And that's what's going through their head on tapes, playing every day.
And I'm starting to think they're right. They should have won the war. They should have been their own country. They'd be a bunch of, idiots down south just doing nothing but sitting in cotton fields trying to figure out what to do with their crops that the North wouldn't buy anymore.
Why should we support that type of regime? No way. We don't trade with them. We don't have a trading agreement with them. They can let them get their food somewhere else.
Yeah, we basically say, hey, knock yourself out. You want to, and maybe, I mean, I don't know. You know, I didn't live back then, but maybe it would have been better for them to. It's just it's just such a joke, Michael, because they pretend they put on this face that they're such gentlemen and such, sir, you know, but yet you got people down there that are inhuman.
Well, remember Sam Ervin. I'm not cloaking him in the same racist cloak as that we've seen in our examples with Ron DeSantis and the Abbott from Texas. But there was nothing that gave the plaintiff chills more than to hear Senator Sam Ervin saying, "Well, I'm just a country lawyer."
Yeah,
Well, don't say that because that means that I'm going to prison. If you're just a country lawyer, I'm a monkey's uncle.
right. And I don't mean to besmirch every. I'm sure there are good people that live in the South. I'm sure there are, wonderful church going, fine, upstanding citizens in the
But don't
South.
assume don't assume those two things go together in the South: church going and fine upstanding.
Yeah, but I don't know. If you support what Ron DeSantis did and will probably continue to do, if that's your idea of immigration policy, if that's how you want to start an immigration debate, if you believe that you using humans
As pawns.
as pieces, as show pieces to try to make a point,
And
then
who's he playing to? Who's he making that point to? He's making it to the people of Florida who vote for him. He doesn't give a shit about what happens in Martha's Vineyard. He doesn't care about anything that might have happened on the road there or the road back. He's doing this strictly as a showpiece for the people he hopes will support him with their vote and their support and their trust.
he's pandering to, because it's becoming more and more evident that Donald Trump isn't going to be able to run for anything except his life in 2024. So it serves DeSantis to be able to um, out Trump Trump.
I'm meaner than Trump was. I am. I'm meaner than he ever got to be. That's me, Ron DeSantis, mean man.
Right. And I will play to his audience. I will play to that 33% of people who says, well, them people on welfare, they just don't work. They don't want to work. Them people on disability don't want to work.
You know
That's
why?
why they're on disability. The
They're
same people who
communists.
run down to the post office every month and pick up their disability check.
Ooh, I wish I could have one of those.
Get yourself disabled. Well, you can't have one anymore.
No more disabled people.
Well,
I can
not after
walk.
you're
I can
65.
walk. Oh, I see.
You can get the parking pass, though.
Is it good for NFL games?
It gets you closer to the stadium.
Closer. Closer is better in the world of the NFL parking game.
Closer is better. I mean, you still got to pay the $100
Because you gotta.
to park your car. The NFL does more to put people on public transportation than anybody.
The NFL, I think, is watching what's going on in the NBA right now and saying the NBA has come to the conclusion that they can't control their owners, they can't control their racial statements, they can't control this thing. They can fine them, but they cannot take them out of the league. And I wonder if the NFL is saying, is that what we have to do? Can we find an owner so egregious in his actions that he has to give up his team? Does the rules back us up on that? What about baseball? What about baseball? Can the Cincinnati Reds get rid of their owner? Can the St. Louis Cardinals get rid of their owner based on statements made, based on proof in court?
Well,
Is it possible?
there's always been that. What was the the morals character that they
Aesop's fable.
amendments that they try to use, the clauses that you have to comport yourself in a certain way, um,
Or what?
or they can suspend you. They can throw you out. Who was it? Was it Sterling that they got rid of?
Donald Sterling. They pressured him to sell.
Yeah, Donald
And
Sterling.
they never once said, "We're pressuring you knowing that we can't force you to sell." They said, "You're selling."
And we're going to make it, if you don't sell, we're going to make it so hard for you. We're not going to tell you where the meetings are, the owners' meetings.
You're
We're
not
not going
invited.
to send you a letter. You're going to have to find out on your own.
Well, this guy in Phoenix, Varner, seems like he was a pretty awful person, or is an awful person, but he'll be back.
Well, the other side of that coin, though, Michael, is, do we prohibit people from being in business and being a part of a league or something like that are awful people?
Well, the rules have to state that an awful person cannot hold that office. What equals an awful person? What offenses must be attributed and proven to the commissioners and to a board or to a judicial group?
Or the governors and stuff like that. Yeah.
How can you say he did it, and how can you prove that he did it? And then what do you do after you know that he did it?
And how much does a person have a right to be a bad person?
Well, you're
As
right.
long as they don't break any laws. Okay, let's make it clear. But if a person is a racist, okay, but
And how
their
do we know this?
their company, well, they say it. Maybe they attend what do you call it, a white supremacist rally or something like that. But yet, in their company, in their business, they don't practice. They abide by the laws. They don't practice racism.
They have minority hiring programs.
Right. They have minority hiring programs. They have, they comply with all of the EEOC and everything that they need to comply with. They just happen to hate a certain group of people.
Well, that was something that Leon Musk, had to deal with. Musk had to deal with the fact that his workers in the plant were being treated differently based on what race they were. And he's just basically said, well, I don't care what happens in that plant. I don't care who's being discriminated against or how we're doing it. And I'm moving to Texas anyway, where I can do what I want to with my employees.
Right. Right. And how much does an owner of a business, again, if he complies with all of the laws that are out there, have a right to think what he wants? I tend to think that if somebody is a racist, if somebody is a sexist, if somebody is whatever they are, that you don't buy from them. You watch them go broke, uh, you know, but they still have a right to feel like they want to feel. I don't have to accept it. I don't have to buy from them. But if, as long as they run their business as, let's say you hate gays, but you're one of these Christians, and you don't want, you don't want, you don't believe that gay people have a right to marry and all that kind of stuff. But you don't discriminate against them when they come in. If two gay guys come in and want a wedding cake, you make them the wedding cake. You don't say, well, my religion says that I get, this, so I can't make you a wedding cake. You make them the cake. They're paying customers. So, what could you do to that person?
If they make you the cake, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, if they make it a cake, where these people get in trouble is they take their religious views and they move them over into their business, or they take their racist views and they move them over into their business.
And they tell everyone about it.
And yes, and they think it's a smart thing to tell people how they feel.
More people feel the way we do than they feel the way they do. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. You mean more
Well,
people feel the way they do? So I'm in the minority? Yeah, they find out in a hurry. They are.
and they inevitably start to feel like they're so empowered because they feel that way that they can make the mistake of firing somebody because they're black, or firing somebody because they're gay, or firing or not having the EEOC program as they should.
Well, that's okay in a grocery store, but what we're finding out is in a very high tech, high pressure business like the NBA, the league itself does not have the power to shut down a racist person. And that's pretty weird given the fact that the NBA is 90% black.
Right. Well, see, here's the thing: they do have the power to shut them down. All they have to do is every person in the league has refused to work for them. If you're a free agent, you don't sign with them. If
Yeah,
you
but now
are,
you're making it the individual player's job to turn down employment to solve the problem that the league can't solve.
well, you don't have to turn it down. Then you have to work for somebody that looks at you as a lesser person.
Well,
But
the league shouldn't the league be able to protect an employee from someone as predictable as an owner like this?
yeah, but if the employer, if the team owner, the employer is not doing anything with his team that would be deemed racist, or not doing anything with his team that would be deemed sexist or anything like this. Just the sole fact that this guy, for whatever reason, doesn't like black people, doesn't like gay people, doesn't like women.
But that's not the issue. The issue is we established that he is this kind of person, that
Right.
he fosters this type of environment. And in addition to saying what a bad person you are, the league also says, and by the way, after your suspension, you can come back and you can own your team again and do it and do what you want because we have just proven we can't affect the outcome of this any further than a suspension. You're still the owner, you're still the man, you're still a great guy, but we had to do this because you're also a racist and a sexist.
Yeah, I think at that point the league has to make it so hard. I don't think they can make him sell the team, except to make things so difficult for him.
Right. And that's kind of weird because you'd think somewhere in the language of the league, they would have the power to control the situation better than they are being able to control this one. They got Sterling out. And but with this one, you got LeBron James in the headlines going, boy, the NBA got that one wrong.
Well, Sterling, if I'm not mistaken, was charged with sexual harassment, wasn't he? Or
And
sued for sexual harassment?
and comments too. He had made comments.
Right, right. He made comments, but there was also a criminal, some kind of criminal or court proceeding going on there.
He also, I think, used team funds to shack up his girlfriend and take care of
Yeah,
her.
yeah. I think there was actual violations of law there. I don't know that I've seen it. The Phoenix guy, and I haven't. I have to admit I haven't read a lot about it, but I haven't seen where the Phoenix guy had any violations of law besides just saying stupid stuff.
I think, well, on paper, you're right. But the washout of this is the league goes, he's a terrible guy. We suspend him. And nothing. I got nothing. You would expect more from the
I
NBA.
mean, he has to. He probably has to do something illegal for them to really, say to him or to, to get rid of him as an owner. He probably would have, he has to. They have to prove that he did something that has harmed. Well, again, I don't even know if it has harmed the NBA's image, unless that's in a contract that he signed. If he signed a contract when you're an owner that says I won't do anything to harm the NBA's image,
That's a huge clause.
it's a big clause. Um,
And who gets to judge whether the image has been
Well,
harmed?
you know who does that is a special master.
Oh, you
There
mean
you go. We're right back to where we started.
Raymond Deary, 6'7", out of Notre Dame. Judge, come on down. What are you going to do, Special Master? Special Master, tell us what you're going to do. I'm going to make this decision last 4 years. Let's meet here in
Yeah.
2028, and I'll have something I think I might be able to share with you.
I'm gonna sink a three.
And there's Raymond Deary out past the 3 mark. Ooh, off the mark.
Raymond Deering for three. Deering for three.
That's short again. Short and short. Ooh. Deary's got to loosen it. Deary's got to warm up or loosen it. There's another one. No, off the backboard. Nice try.
Off the backboard.
It's a
You
little
got
long.
Kevin Calabro call the court proceeding.
Good golly, Miss Molly.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Once again, the defense attorney has
Left his game on the bus.
he's only 5 for 7 today on objections. Yeah, it's a sticky question because again, we have a right to think what we want to think in this country, right?
Not in certain circumstances, what you think can prevent you from continuing in your ownership.
Very, very true. If you do something, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because there are cases where somebody has said something and then all of a sudden, boom, they're gone. I'm not. I just think that in these kinds of things, if you're not holding people back from a job, if you're not paying people less because they're a different skin color or a woman or something like that, if your racist view does not manifest itself in your business, you are entitled to your view. But also, I'm entitled not to buy anything from you. I'm
Well,
entitled not to work for you. I'm
but the league
entitled not
did.
to.
Yeah, but the league didn't say he wasn't not entitled to hold his views. The league said because of the views that he held, he was being suspended. And what the league and the players union wanted was because of the views you hold and because of the environment you have fostered, you're out. 2 T's and you're gone. And you knew the rules. You can't play by them. You foster a bad environment. You say things that are racist. You say things that are sexist. We have the history of it. And to add to all that, our weakened case says, and we can't do anything about it except suspend you. So you're suspended. And when you come back, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to this guy? He's back.
Well, you always hope that. I guess the commissioner, Adam Silver, will be hoping that this guy either A, has had enough and wants to sell the team, or B, that he'll learn to keep his mouth shut.
And when you're around the Russian agents come to say hello and just to visit you, don't drink the lemonade. I'm telling you, do not partake of the lemonade.
Well, it's an interesting thing because a lot of these. I mean, we're getting Russian owners in team sports now, and if you know anything about Russian men, they're not a big fan of African American people.
No. And Abraham Hoff, the guy who was the part of Putin's gang in London, they took that team away from him in 3 days, right at the beginning of the war. They just said, you can't own this team anymore. Wait a minute, I put billions of dollars in this team. That's right, and you're out.
Right. That's because he was associated with under the sanctions with Putin. As they did to many of the oligarchs that were friends of Putin. How many of those guys lost their yachts and everything else? And as they should have, they figured that was going to put pressure on Putin, that these guys were either going to
All my summer suits were on that yacht. I want you to know I
Yeah,
lost a
yeah.
lot in
I mean,
some.
I had 5 leisure suits. They're all on that. Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to get a leisure suit these days?
All my white suits are there. All my cream colored suits are there. My seersucker. What am I going to do in the summertime? They're gone.
I got to go to Lansky in Memphis and get new suits made, and my credit cards aren't working.
He didn't want to see me. He didn't want to see me any more than the guy down the street at Robert Hall with two pairs of pants I can't pay for. I had to pay
There's a
cash.
fence. I got to the counter. I handed him the credit card. I said, sorry, denied.
Denied again.
Why? Call the company.
I don't know. They don't tell me.
He gets on the phone with the company. The company says, sorry, sir, your card's been canceled. Your funds have been held.
This is a purchase of $2,000. What's it for? Couple summer suits. Sorry, we can't help you.
Sorry, we can only get you essentials. If you want to go back and buy underwear, we can do that for you.
We can help you with socks too, up to a point.
Get your socks, we'll get your underwear. We'll even get your hat, but
You'll be
nothing else.
fresh as a daisy. You'll be smelling fresh as a daisy.
Yes, we'll get you some cologne. But I mean, it's true. I mean, when it comes to, I mean, we saw it in how Putin treated Obama.
Yeah.
You could see that he disdained him for no other reason. I mean, well, I guess you could see it with Mitch McConnell too.
Well, we'll see how this shakes out in terms of history. Right now, Obama's got more friends than Putin does.
yeah. Putin doesn't have a lot of friends at the moment.
And
Uh,
the kind of friends he had are people that he couldn't trust, except he can't take the lemonade either, in case you're curious. Vladimir, remember when you're at lunch, no tea, no lemonade, no beer, no water.
lemonade and have somebody drink everything for you.
Yeah.
Um, you have. I wonder if he feels insulted that he didn't get invited to the Queen's funeral.
He knew. He knew it wasn't going. And he had a couple places in downtown London that he paid for where he could have stayed.
But he doesn't own them anymore.
But he doesn't have the key. The key.
They've changed the locks.
Oh boy, did they ever.
Wait a minute, I had a place there over on Heathrow Street. Not anymore, you don't.
No, we sold it to this dude.
But I could stay over there. No, you can't stay
No,
there
that's
because he
that's
ain't there
gone.
anymore. Well, what about Trump Tower? All right, we'll get you in there.
But if you fly into Heathrow, we're going to have to hold you for 2 weeks. Security check, nothing personal.
Not that personal, but you got a strip search coming.
And that too is business, not personal.
And there's a 24-hour line to strip search you, so.
Everybody wants to get in on it. It's a busy week here with the Queen and everything.
Yeah, well, we have the Queen here. We're going to put you here, and everybody that goes sees the Queen can strip search you.
You're gonna have a new king, and everything's gonna be right. And you will have a roommate. Who? His name is Andrew, Prince Andrew. Are you familiar
Yeah,
with
you
him?
know him. You've been on the plane with him before.
Anyway,
Anyway,
he
well,
sends his
Michael,
best.
an interesting morning. Now, before we go, who are you picking to win the 49er Seahawk game?
Played in San Francisco, right? 2013 San Francisco.
2013 San Francisco. I'm gonna go with the Seahawks on this one. I got a funny feeling that they're gonna short week, high on the victory. Gino feeling his oats right now. He probably feels like he can be better than he probably really is. Um,
But one of the great post-game comments ever. They wrote me off, and I did not write back.
yeah, and just on I mean, how many times will we see that on Sunday? Uh, I'm gonna go with the Hawks at 27-17.
I think it'll be a close one.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and actually, I'm more tempted to say 27-24, to be honest with you. But I don't
Well,
know.
I just look at looking at both these quarterbacks, Trey Lance and Dino. Do you see 27 points in Dino right now?
If he plays like he played the first half, I do. If he plays like he played the second half, it's a shutout. I mean, I don't know what happened in that second half that stopped him from scoring, but he had,
They adjusted to market pressure at
yeah,
halftime.
it's exactly what it was. They went the 5,000 over MSRP.
See what happens? I told you with your damn MSRP, but you wouldn't listen to Vinnie. Why would you have him on the sideline if you're not going to listen to him?
I think and the better question really is, will the Jets win a game this year?
Well, so far the injuries gods are not on their side. In fact, none of the gods are on their side.
The gods haven't been on their side since 1970.
So
Uh,
that means that they win this weekend. Who they playing?
I don't even know. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not sure. Oh,
know
and before we go, let's see. Where were the Jets here somewhere? I had them up, but I was looking at them before. Um, before we go, uh, let's see. Cleveland on the
Jets
road.
Jets have a good shot. Jets have a good shot.
I don't know.
Don't get your dauber down. That's the first thing I'm going to tell them. Don't get your dauber down.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on the Jets have seen their dauber since 1972.
You don't have to look at it. You don't have to feel it. Just don't let it get down.
Yeah. First game on Sunday, Jets in Cleveland. And Cleveland's a tough place to play in, and the Jets have traditionally not done well in tough places to play in, and the Jets have not done well in easy places to play in.
And they got some injuries that prevent them from getting their best team on the field, and that ain't good.
Yeah, starting with the owner, and the game of the week should be Pittsburgh and New England. I mean, here you go. Um, New England at 0-1,
Haha.
and the Steelers coming off of that victory, but they have a big loss in Watt.
He's not going to have surgery, but he's not right. He can't play either.
Yeah, I think he's gone at least 4 weeks, maybe even more. But it seems that it'll be. He's a tough son of a gun, though, man.
Yeah, but that upper
He's a
pec.
guy that'll figure out a way to come back. He will figure out a way to come back. Now, before we go, I just want to take a second to acknowledge the death and the life, really, of one John Stearns, who was a catcher for the Mets in the 70s and 80s.
Is he your guy?
He was, well, you know what? He was what the Mets had before Strawberry came along, before UB Brooks and Mookie Wilson, and the 80s and the late 70s. John Stearns was probably the best player on that team. He didn't care that he was playing for a last place team. He didn't care that about anything. He was a competitor. He went out there. You watched him play, and you watched him block the plate against some of the greats. I mean, I remember, good God, man, he come out. He was a guy that would give no quarter. And Dave Parker from the Pirates
There's a load
coming
for you.
around third base and motoring toward home plate in a game that I believe the Pirates were probably up by 7 or 8 runs.
But they
And
wanted
Stearns
nine.
blocked the plate like it was a 1-1 game. And it was the seventh game of the World Series. And
Wow.
Parker come barreling into him, man. And he got up and he was pissed off and he started fighting with Parker.
Was he out?
Parker was out. He held on to the ball.
All
And
right.
I remember another time there was an argument between Bill Gullickson,
Yeah.
who pitched for the Expos, and I was at the ballpark, and Gullickson and one of the other Mets had words, and Ron Hodges, who was the backup catcher, was catching that day, and Gullickson and Hodges had drawn, and all of a sudden Hodges drops his mask, and Gullickson's coming up to bat, and he drops his mask, and he's like John Wick Gullickson. All of a sudden, like a shot out of a gun, man.
Turn.
Stearns comes running out of the dugout. Pow! And he hits Gullickson, and Gullickson goes down, and Gullickson was a tall guy.
Oh yeah, he's a big player.
And he come out and he just popped Gullickson, man. I mean, I don't think Ron Hodges ever knew he was coming behind him. And all of a sudden, Hodges feels this arm going over his shoulder, man.
Like a bear picking huckleberries, ladies and gentlemen.
And all 3,500 people in Shea Stadium
Whoa.
are watching this. And it's like, it's like Sunnyside Gardens, man. Everybody's Stearns on. It was a tough guy, man.
Put him in the sleeper hold. Use the sleeper hold. Sleeper hold.
Yeah. He was a tough guy. He was, he was your favorite player. The girls loved Lee Mazzilli because he was the matinee idol.
Yeah, what do they know?
But the guys loved Stearns because he wouldn't take crap from anybody. He blocked the plate. He always seemed to get a key hit that helped the Mets out. He was probably the most reliable hitter in 78, 79.
Guys who block the plate get low. They get low like a monument, like the base of a monument. And Mike Scioscia used to do it probably the best in the league. I hated him for it, but I respect him for it. Mike Scioscia, great catcher for the Dodgers, who I hated. But one thing that you could count on is Mike Scioscia was not going to let you score. And Stearns seems to be cut from the same.
He was a football player at I believe Colorado.
Going low. He was
a buff. Yeah, I believe he was a football player at University of Colorado. And just a hell of a guy, man. And the Mets had their old timers day a couple of weeks ago, and Stearns, riddled with cancer, showed up for the game. Even took a couple of swings, and I mean,
wow.
He's walking with a cane. He's a shadow of his former self. You could see that it wasn't going to be long for him.
But he didn't say, "Nah, forget about it. Count me out."
Yeah, no, he got on the plane.
I'm showing up.
He came to New York and he showed up.
Did he suit up?
The bat. And
did he suit up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Hey, baby.
He was in his number 12, man.
That's how you do it.
He was. It was beautiful to see. It was heartbreaking because you could see how sick he was.
Yeah.
He's walking with a cane and everything. But it was just it's sad that he's gone, but he looked like he was suffering, man. And so in that respect, hopefully he's found the ball game in the sky.
And block the plate, damn it! Here comes somebody from third.
Oh yeah, he was one of the best, man. I mean, he played on just such a crap team for so many years. And yet every day went out there and he gave it everything he had, man.
The funny thing is, the fans decide who's a star in a situation like that. The fans say, this guy means business. He means business. He's here to play ball. And they don't know why they respect it, or maybe they do, but without actually defining the exact nature of your respect, you just look at this guy and say, you can count on him. He's going to be here tomorrow. He's going to show up. He's here to play the game. And part of it is just the attitude of the player, the way they stand there. It means I'm here to hit the damn ball, or I'm here to stop you from hitting it. And it's great to see that determination in another player.
Yeah, he was. You could he was one of those guys that he chased the foul ball into the second row.
Yeah.
You could see him. He didn't care if he caught the railing in the gut, man. He wanted the out.
Yeah.
And he was going to do, he didn't let an opportunity pass.
I'm leaving here. I'll be back with the ball.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that, oh, I'm playing on a last place team. What do I got to worry about hurting myself for? He was, I'll hurt myself. I'm playing baseball, and when I play baseball, I put my all into it. That's what they pay me for. And you can say what you want about New Yorkers, man, but New Yorkers respect that.
Sure, they do. How can they not?
Because New York is, how many times is a new guy driving a truck in New York? I'm hurt, but I gotta get up and go to work that day. And maybe my boss hates me, my wife hates me, but I got to get up and go and play and work. And so people respect that.
Didn't he have a good show tomorrow? Anything you
Mikey,
want to?
thank you. I will
Anything
talk to you.
special?
We're going to be talking. Big news for Ford, man. He introduced a brand new Mustang yesterday, so we'll talk
Ooh,
about the new Mustang, and we'll talk also about the electric BMW i4, and we'll also clean up on the Bronco, some of the stuff we didn't get a chance to
funny
talk
thing
about
about the
last week,
funny
and
thing
we'll
about
get
the
our car.
Bronco. I saw exactly what you were talking about with the Bronco this weekend when I was playing with my 3-year-old grandson, who has got a brand new dump truck. And if you could have seen the excitement that he had for that truck, my dump truck, look what it does. The back opens up and this comes up like that, and the doors open and the thing, and you go, and he just went on and on and on playing with that dump truck. He couldn't have been happier. A 3-year-old with a dump truck or a 40-year-old with a Bronchosaurus, same thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's something about there's something that goes on inside of you that's probably there since the Stone Age.
Oh yeah.
That you look at it or you feel it or it just catches you. Maybe it's your testosterone. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but boy, it touches a primal part of you that really it's just such joy. It's like it's releasing endorphins in your head or something like that.
They're called dump truck endorphins.
Very true. All right, Mikey. I will see you on Monday if the Lord's willing. The creek don't rise.
Have a good one, Vin.
All
What a
right.
wine.
Peace, love, Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. Good weekend to everybody.
All right. Take care of yourselves.